Hey everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Technique Tuesday. Today we're going to be looking at the back squat, which is a staple in pretty much every workout enthusiast's playbook. It's a competitive event in powerlifting. CrossFitters will use it for a variety of different movements, and it's a great exercise for building core stability, balance, and leg strength. We're going to be breaking down the back squat into 3 different positions. Your static position, which is at the top of the squat, when you're lowering yourself to the bottom of your squat, and then when you're raising yourself back up from the bottom of the squat. The reason why we're breaking these down is because it's really easy to look at the different muscle groups engaged at any given time this way. And then from there, we can further discuss some different technique and some different advice we have when performing a back squat.
Okay, let's talk about the breath in squats. Every movement is going to start with a breathe in and a brace, and that's going to create a solid base for you to move weight properly and safely. Now, looking at the muscles used during our squat, when we are at the top of our stance, we're engaging back muscles like the trapezius, latissimus dorsi, and scapular muscles to hold the weight in place. When we move into lowering our squat to depth, we're using our core for balance, quadriceps and glutes. And then as we ascend from the squat, we are using mostly our glutes, hamstring, and again, core for balance. That's the most important thing I can teach today. Now let's take a look at the difference between high bar and low bar squatting. Here we have high bar squatting. You'll notice that the body's moving together and it's mostly a knee hinging movement. Here we have low bar squatting. Same process, bar staying over the weight of our feet, but it's utilizing more of a hip hinge movement like a deadlift. Let's take a look at some different depths. First, we have quarter squats. Those are used for a lot of powerful movements like jerks. Then we're going to go into half squats. That's where your legs are creating a 90-degree angle. Now we're starting to move into full depth squats. This is what, if you're going to compete in, you'll be judged upon. And then finally going into deep squats. These are used a lot for Olympic movements. There's no Olympic movements with weight on the back, but it's still good to practice that depth.
Your hand placement on the bar is pretty important. The hands are stabilizing it on your shoulders, which is then stabilizing it for the whole movement using a variety of muscles in your upper back, including your latissimus dorsi and your trapezius muscles. So pretty much what you want to do is, in my personal opinion, whatever you're comfortable with. There's a lot of lifters who put their hands really close to their body to sort of help engage those muscles. So that'll look a little something like this right here. But for me, that gets really uncomfortable. So sometimes what I like to do is I'll have my arms spread out like this, still elbows tilted in, helping engage your back. And then some lifters will have their hands all the way across the bar. A lot of times this is what really heavy lifters will do in competition. It provides a lot of stability against the weights, but personally my preference is somewhere between here and here. And with that, like I mentioned briefly there, you want to keep your elbows tucked in instead of having them flared out. When you have them flared out, you're engaging these really small muscles in your shoulder, but when you have them tucked back in, you're going to engage all the muscles down your back and in your core. Okay, foot position is something that a lot of lifters have issues with, whether that be mobility or stability. So first off, a lot of lifters, they can have their feet pointed straight forward from their body like my foot is now. That is if you have a lot of ankle mobility and a lot of hip hinging mobility. For me, I'm definitely lacking in the ankle mobility department, so I like to have my foot at about a 30-degree angle with my knee following the direction of my foot as I squat down. And then as your base, You always want to create a solid base. So a lot of coaches will say, have the weight on your heels or drive up from your heels. But what you actually want to do to create a solid base is create a tripod between your big toe, your little toe, and your heel. Much like the tripod holding up this phone, it creates a stable base for squatting. If you put too much weight on your heel, you're going to end up pulling your toes upward. If you put too much weight on your toes, you're going to end up pulling your heel upward, neither of which are optimal for maximum performance squatting. All right, let's talk about how you can do this at home. If you don't have a gym membership or not willing to go to the gym right now, I completely understand. So here's two different ways you can do it at home. First, is the classic sort of body weight exercise. If you're doing a programming with us, this is going to be included a lot in it. What you're going to do is create your stable base. You're going to squat down, squat back up, squat down, squat back up. That's a movement that we can do in each of the 4 depths, depending upon what your program has in mind. The other thing you do is use a band at various different intensities. And here we are, we're gonna squat down, squat back up. Those are just a couple ways you can do it outside the gym. Since we looked at what a dynamic warm-up looks like 2 weeks ago, I wanted to say one final note. When you're squatting, whether you're doing it body weight in the gym or with a band, make sure that you're starting with a solid warm-up, not only for your whole body, but also for squats. So if you're in the gym using an empty bar or using 135 pounds like I did today, is something that's gonna be huge in improving and keeping you safe while you work out. All right, I hope you enjoyed our tutorial on the back squat. Feel free to direct message us if you have any questions or want to see something special. Besides that, have a great rest of your week and make sure to join us next Tuesday for our next Technique Tuesday.